When it comes to a hazmat response, speed and accuracy are everything.
Right. You got your speed and power.
Oh, be careful. Speed and power, that's a Clarkson Farm thing, right? Speed and accuracy, that's a 908 thing.
That's the little black box that we just had our hands on. And we also had our hands on the little red box as well.
And those little black boxes and little red boxes are earning the trust of hazmat teams around the world for 908. Their handheld MX908 and the Explorer are changing the game.
Right. The 908 is one of those few devices out there that actually can identify the Novichoks.
You got it. It can identify all sorts of chemical warfare agents, as well as pharmaceutical-based agents, drugs, and explosives, all at trace levels.
Which is amazing, and the Explorer can identify and quantify over 5,000 gases and vapors in seconds, and that's changing the game, baby.
And you wonder why hazmat teams all around the world are trusting 908 devices. Why? I'm telling you guys, check them out. 908devices.com and upgrade your metering toolbox today.
Well, we're back with another episode.
Hey, everybody!
With a great
All right,
guest.
we're gonna peel back the curtain. We're gonna break down the fourth wall for a moment. We are recording the beginning of this at the end of this, and I got to tell you, after doing the interview with this gentleman, go through this podcast knowing that this what we're talking about is inevitable to happen. It's going to change your whole perspective.
Going to happen. But before we get into that juicy stuff, we have the new Hazard Class podcast out with our very own Jake Ricks. And keep your ear out because we got two more podcasts. One just dropped. It was industrial strength. It is now on iTunes and Spotify and all those things. You can get it. And for our premium members, make sure you're joining us in the happy hour, the monthly happy hour, for your chance to win a scholarship to our Southernmost Hazmat Conference, which is going to be the fourth Thursday of each month. No, the conference is not the fourth Thursday of every month. The conference is going to be February 3rd through the 5th of 2026. The happy hour is the fourth Thursday of every month.
As if you need any more reason to come to the happy hour. Check out our store, the Hazmat Guys, for all things swag. The THMG and the HMAF swag items are loaded up. Get your shirt, get ready for the summertime because we want summertime vibes. It's getting too cold for here. Make sure you pick up a copy of the Nerds 2 book. I would say it's selling like hotcakes, but it would be, I need something that sells faster than hotcakes. I'm telling you, they can't even keep up with the printing. So go. Also, we are continuing to keep our grant list up to date so that as grants come out, we can reach out to you. If we know what you're looking for, we know what your needs are, we can match them with the proper grant that's coming out. So reach out to us and go on the grant list.
Right. So a couple conferences. We'll keep this short so we get right to Dr. Terry. Central Virginia EMS Expo in the March area, Wisconsin in the again March area, Oklahoma again in the March area, New England again in the March area. Then you got Michigan April, OMRA in April, and the list goes on. I'm not going to bore you with that because there's a lot of conferences. So without further ado, let's get into our interview with Dr. Terry. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. Hazmat Guys.
Today we're going to be flapping our wings and spreading things out. That was so stupid.
We're here with Terry. How are you, Terry?
I'm great.
Why don't you give a little introduction of who you are and why you're here?
Well, I'm being held hostage in Ventura, California.
Don't give the place.
My name's Terry Simpson. I'm a surgeon. I'm a physician, and I'm also a virologist. So I trained at the University of Chicago in virology, published several papers in it, and I never thought that surgery and virology would intersect. And then 2020 came, and here I am. And so now I spend more time doing virology than cutting people, but that's okay.
How, if you don't mind real quick, how did that transition happen from surgeon to virologist?
Well, I was a virologist first, and
Okay.
so I was doing a lot of molecular virology, and so as COVID happened, they needed someone who actually sort of understood a little bit of virology, and then it became more of an issue in terms of public information, because people needed to know both the virology, the technical side, but also how does it affect them as a human being. And just when I thought all of that was kind of over and stuff, then some bird got a cold, and here we are.
So I reached out to you because I saw one of your TikToks on, obviously on the phone. Yes, I do watch TikToks for those of you out there, and I'm going to get angry emails. But
it's all right. I got about 1.1 million on TikTok, so I play with it a little bit.
So after COVID, listen, me and Bobby have been involved in New York City with a lot of the viruses. Pandemic, I don't want to say pandemics, but epidemics, right? I mean, we were on the job through bird flu, swine flu, Ebola. We did a number of stuff with Ebola, and then all the COVID protocols we kind of were involved within the response. So the rest of the hazmat world and first responders, we deal with the ramifications of these viruses when they end up hitting the public. So we always feel like it's a good idea to kind of help keep the first response community up to date on what's going on and give them kind of possibly a heads up of what's happening. And I had seen one of your TikToks, and you were talking about the H5N1 virus, which is the bird flu, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And you were talking about a mutation, and in the world of virology, this type of mutation has the ability for a crossover event, meaning it can go from species to species. So I would love to hear a little bit about, or a lot of it about that specifically, and what the possible impact on people could be.
Sure. So bird flus, different types of bird flus have been around for literally thousands of years. Okay. Because we've been interacting with, fowl for a long time. And in fact, a lot of the influenzas we get, yearly influenzas, actually are transmitted through fowl. But there are some forms of fowl that have worse outcomes for people. Now, this particular virus, H5N1, which is the class of viruses, and that's sort of kind of how we classify it. It's a broad class.
Is it like rock and roll? Like H5N1 is like rock and roll, and then you have like different bands within that?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So in this particular brand of H5N1s, there are some that have about a 50% mortality, meaning if you get it as a human being, about half the time you will die. And there are many in there that it's just like the flu, and you might get a little conjunctivitis, a little bit of eye stuff, a little watery nose, etc. And after that, then you're probably fine. We worry about the first form, obviously. And what we worry about is we don't yet have human-to-human contact. What we have is, if you handle a wild bird that has the deadly form of the virus, you may not make it. So the guy in Louisiana who handled the dead birds in his property died. The young girl, we don't know where she got it from in Canada. She was on a machine called ECMO. And that's where you're basically bypassing lungs and oxygenating blood for her, and ventilated for a long time. And she's finally getting better. She was a young woman in British Columbia. So we see that this can be a very bad thing. But right now, the only transmission that have come from either birds to people and maybe cattle to people. Here's the bad news. So all of that is the good news.
Because you wouldn't be on if there was no bad news.
That's right. That's right. Here's the bad news. Now, as much as we would love to deny and say it's been around forever, we don't have to worry about it, pandemics are a part of human existence. And, we had the last big pandemic in 1918, and we think now, when we've molecular engineered, looked at the DNA anatomy of that, we think that was now a bird flu. Now, since that time, we have had a lot of influenzas. Every year we have two influenza crises, right? We have an influenza A and influenza B. They come in. And some of them have been bad. For example, you were probably not alive when we had Hong Kong flu, so-called. They used to name it for places, or the Asia flu. But all of those were very deadly viruses. People were very sick. Older people died a lot. Bird flu has an even higher and worse potential and probability of that. So the bad news is this. We just discovered that the bad version of that virus, and we can tell you the bad version because we can sort of pull the DNA off and say, this is the one that leads to death. This is the one that leads to your eyes watering. The eye-watering simple kind has been found in 950 dairy herds across 16 states. Just this week, they discovered the bad kind in dairy cattle in Nevada. Now, for birds, bird flu is deadly. They get the bird flu, they die very, very quickly, which is why if it comes into a bunch of birds, they will sacrifice the whole farm. We've killed about 82 million birds in the last 5 years, chickens predominantly.
Say that again, 82 million? 82 million?
In the last year, we've killed.
I wonder why eggs are so expensive.
Yeah, in the last, and you can't, and we've killed about 10 to 20 million so far this year. So we have found that deadly bird flu in cattle in Nevada. Mm-hmm. And where we find it is we take raw milk from dairy farms, because in the raw milk we can find the virus. Obviously, pasteurized milk gets rid of the virus, which is why you can drink pasteurized milk or eat pasteurized eggs and you're going to be fine. They denature the virus so it's no longer infective. They essentially rip it apart. Mm-hmm. So they found that, and that is the same type of virus that infected the young girl in Canada and the gentleman in Louisiana who died. So we're worried about that because we don't know how birds pass it on to cattle, and we think cattle may be more receptive to bird flu than we thought. And that brings us a whole other thing, because the more bird flu that's out there, the more chances we have for mutations in the wild. And if we get someone who happens to have influenza and they get bird flu, what will happen is they can potentially mix up in that person and create a super virus that is both highly transmissible, as flu viruses are, but contain the deadly components of the bird flu. And we don't know what they are. We can't engineer bird flu. We can't make, there are these people, these conspiracy theorists who said gain of function, you'll make it deadly, we're doing it. We don't have as a molecular virologist, I can tell you, we're not that smart yet. We will be someday, but we're not yet. Because if we're that smart, we can make a vaccine today, give it to everybody, and we'd be fine. So that's where we are. So right now, we are seeing a pandemic among birds for bird flu. Okay? So there are 49 countries that they're monitoring for bird flu. We stopped supporting their monitoring for bird flu just the last couple of weeks when they stopped giving foreign aid, because that's what was being used. But right. You're seeing it probably as migratory birds cross New York. They're seeing all the dead ducks in Chicago. The bears have died in Chicago a long time ago, but that's a whole separate story. And migratory regions in Ohio, Maine, New Hampshire. They're seeing it on the other side in Canada. So we are seeing this deadly outbreak among birds, and people are seeing all these dead birds show up on their property. Here's the problem. People shouldn't handle them, because you handle that dead bird, you may get the virus. So A, please don't handle dead birds. Let the professionals, you guys, do it. B, we are worried that your cat may go out and see a dead bird or see a bird that's injured and say, good, here's my next meal. They're injured. I can catch that one real quick. Right. Cats are very susceptible to bird flu, and people love their cats. They let them lick them, eat them, all that. Cats are like that. And dogs are that. So, and then we also worry about people with bird feeders. So we're telling people, please don't have bird feeders out this winter. Yes, you're worried the birds will die, but if they colonize together in your backyard and die in your backyard, that's not good. And if you have chickens, you mentioned that you had chickens.
I do.
We want you to isolate those as much as you can so they can't interact with a wild fowl. Meaning, keep them in a barn, keep them in a large coop, make sure the water sources aren't the same, because those are the things that we worry about. And so, like I said, right now we're seeing this slaughter birds. We are worried that if it arrives in humans, it will slaughter humans. Here's a couple facts. Your regular influenza vaccine will probably not help you against bird flu. We have a bird flu vaccine which we don't know what it does in people, but we do know that it helps birds, and we're thinking about giving it to a lot of poultry farmers because a lot of them several of them have gone under. Many of them, rather than cull the herd, they would rather get a vaccine and isolate the herd, but keep it because it's really hard to kill thousands of birds, as you might imagine. And we will not have a human vaccine until we actually know what the virus looks like that will get to us, and we don't know that yet. So that's the bad news. The good news is it's only birds.
So far, it's
right now.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now.
But again, the more of it that's out there, the more of it's around there.
Right.
We're seeing more and more in the animal world, the more we are likely to see the inevitable transmission to where then it can go from human to human, which means someone will sneeze in the room and a minute later you can walk in that room, they can be long gone, and you can breathe that air and can get infected with the virus.
So what is it? Talk to a little bit about the transmission from, let's say, a dead bird or a live bird to a human, because like you said, now in New York City, we didn't go around collecting dead animals, but it's absolutely in some people's.
You do at Peter Luger Steakhouse.
That okay? Well, that brings up could you get it from I like my steak almost mooing?
Right now, I would probably. I agree. I like my steak that way. So, if you're going to cook your steak in that manner, it's best to use a sous vide method. And you can look the sous vide method up because you can have the thing at 134 degrees and keep it there. Because if you keep something at 134 degrees throughout the entire steak, it will still have that medium rare to rare side, but you're keeping it the temperature long enough to where you will kill or deactivate the virus. Whereas if you just put it under a salamander grill, you will the inside may not reach that temperature. That inner side may not reach the temperature, which will inactivate the virus. So sous vide method is good. That's probably the best way to learn to prepare to do steaks, and then sear it. That's how I would do it at this point.
Is there the ability for this virus to go from cattle to cattle? Have you seen any?
We don't know, but we do know that when we check the cattle herds, we all see it in a lot of raw milk. So we're pretty sure that cattle to cattle interaction does it, whether it's through the water supply, whether it's probably it's through the air. Because cattle, as you know, when they blow out their nose, they have all that stuff that it goes around, and they're all, in very close proximity. They're herding animals, so they like being close, unlike hermits. They're not hermit type animals, they're herding animals.
Go ahead, Bob.
I got a question. All right, so you said, and the funny thing is you said that we would be the guys picking up, and in all actuality, it's probably gonna be like animal control, which those guys, I'm not, not downplaying animal control, but they are way less trained. They're like civilians that just pick up animals, that's all they are, right? So if I came up, let's say they have animal control or they have hazmat come up to this thing, and I just grab a snow shovel and scoop up that bird and throw him in a plastic bag, tie it off the knot, throw it in the garbage can, off it goes. That's probably, I'm thinking, what's going to happen. What would you recommend how it happens?
Well, first of all, I would recommend that they wear gloves to protect their hands, that they wear some disposable outfit to protect them, because we don't know, while these viruses are inactivated in contact surface and sunshine over a period of time, it is not a zero time. So if that dead bird's been out there for a while, probably the virus has been relatively inactivated from the surface virus, right? But if it's spilling its guts or something like that, there's still virus in there. We think that we get that virus, the dead bird contact, probably because it was close enough to where he inhaled some virus, that person in Louisiana. So yeah, you're right. Probably they will do it. But you have to be careful. You don't want to throw it into garbage that goes into a landfill that gets into the water supply, right?
Okay. So my major concern, because you said airborne, if I'm hearing you right, that means it's wet droplets suspended in air that I've inhaled.
Yes.
So it's a liquid issue.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I get that right because it's not like
tuberculosis.
Or even like acetone vapors that I breathe in. That's an actual like a gas. There is no gaseous virology, right?
So
it's
created on what we call fomites, right? So every time you breathe out microscopic droplets of air. On the air are influenza viruses, COVID viruses, etc. Those can become trapped in most masks. N95, K95 are the best. So if I were to recommend people picking up dead birds, gloves, gloves, N95 masks, goggles, and when you get back, you dispose of it in plastic. Make sure it doesn't go into a landfill, or if it goes into a landfill, it's not water, so the landfill would probably be okay. But in plastic, and then you need to wash 1 to 10 parts of bleach, on your boots, etc. Because we don't, like I said, there's contact stuff out there, but these viruses are very easily get in humid air and kind of travel around.
Hey, Mike, take a look around and see how many lithium-ion batteries you have around you right now.
Probably about 5 or 6.
Exactly. The batteries are everywhere, and almost every department in the nation is starting to deal with these battery fires on a regular basis.
We're excited to tell you about this new product that has been proven to limit and control battery fire propagation. It's from a brand called DeGeo, and they are chock full of actual hazmat experts who know that there's no better way for a first responder to handle, store, and ship lithium-ion batteries. Well, that's a little tongue twister.
Right. And this product will solve your lithium-ion battery problems because it's lightweight. It works across all battery types. And we can say that it actually lives up to the hype because we've tested it.
It's called ObexionFR, and it's a 2-part system that is scientifically designed with a granular along with a UN-certified pail or drum. Most importantly, and this is why we love it, the Obexion has been proven to reduce the toxic IDLH gases emitted when a battery kicks off. So it's there to help keep your team safe.
Good stuff. To learn more, go to ObexionFR.com. That's OBEXIONFR.com and get your pail today. You know what I hate?
When I mispronounce the names of advertisers and we have to do 3 or 4 retakes.
Banging my head against a brick wall.
Same thing.
No, I hate my face burning off.
Why the hell would your face be burning off? What happened?
Because of radiation, or actually not knowing about radiation being present.
Oh, that's a good point. But we have been playing with these new meters from Mirion, and I got to tell you, man, they are top shelf devices.
All right, I'm going to bet a bunch of you out there don't even know who Mirion is, and we honestly didn't know until we're talking to them, and now, wow, there's much more than meets the eye with these guys.
They're actually a multi-billion-dollar company. I had no idea they even existed. I had no idea the amount of reach they had within the nuclear, medical, and safety defense sector.
Yeah, so for first responders, they got some really cool tech like the AccuRad, Spear Ace, Spear View, and that helps detect and monitor radiation quickly and accurately so we can actually make some smart decisions on the fly.
Check them out at Mirion.com. That's Mirion.com.
Would the dead birds be like a red bag where if, let's say I'm in a fire department or whatever, and I go to an EMS run and I get, somebody's bleeding and I take off my gloves and I put them in the red bio bag and that kind of stuff, right? That usually goes to the, the bio disposal place. If I had a bird,
I think it should be a biohazard bag.
Right. You would put it into a red bag, and would you get rid of it through the same mechanism that we get rid of?
Then those are typically incinerated, etc. That would be best.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah, perfect. You got a plan to incinerate birds, Bob?
I got a whole pile in the backyard. I got to take care of these things. Build it up.
It's just all I have are poop bags for my dog.
Is there species of birds that are not affected, and does a bird have to come, like, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. If I had a bird like a cockatoo at home or 3, what is there any precaution needed for a bird at home as long as they don't interact?
We don't. Yeah, we don't know I mean, we know eagles and carrion birds, which eat ducks and things like that. They'll find a dead animal, ravens will, and they'll eat them. They are susceptible to bird flu. So we know eagles are. Not that many of us play with eagles. We might soar with them, but we don't play with them. We know ducks are particularly, geese are particularly, obviously chickens. And the nice thing about chickens is that when they get it, they die pretty quickly, which means that usually they don't get to the point where they're laying eggs before they die. You know, they get affected and it goes through them very quickly. Other birds we don't know because they're in the wild. And we honestly don't know why it, you know, when my guess is that when the guy handled the birds, like all of us, you know, when we handle things, we don't know how it gets on our face. But anybody who wears glasses, you look at your glasses after a couple hours, like, how did I get those fingerprints up there? Because we don't know how. I mean, the average person touches their face 20 or 30 times. And that's how a lot of that spread. So I suspect that that's what happened, that was contact from an early dead bird.
Okay, so
unless it was bird breath.
There's been different illnesses, right? Like we as EMS, we understand that there's tuberculosis, and that is truly an airborne type of a thing. We understand now that COVID was much more dropules, aerosolized droplets. Is there any way of determining if this were to happen, what the precaution may or may not be? And I ask this question for people who are in a position where they may want to start preparing for the possibility of something. Not saying like a hoarder or a prepper, but I'm talking about somebody who is running a hazmat team, running a fire department. Is there anything beyond what we are doing currently that we would need to add extra precautions for, a transmission of a bird flu?
I think it's going to be the same thing we do with COVID. I think it's going to still be the N95 or K95 mask. I think it's going to still be the PP, personal protective equipment. It's still going to be gloving. We think that hand washing is better than Purell or the alcohol, but the alcohol still works pretty well with influenza. It's still going to be Clorox, wipes, etc., or 1 to 10 bleach solution. So pretty much it's going to be the same thing. But if it gets to human, man, that thing's going to transmit fast. Now, it's like influenza. It's going to transmit very, very fast.
Why is that? Why is it that some viruses seem to spread quickly and some viruses seem to have a very slow transmission? What is happening that makes something more contagious than others?
Part of it is viral load. Okay, so the more virus you get in the viral load, the worse the disease you will get. And that's easy when you think about it. Think about your immune system being like the Great Wall of China. Now, the Great Wall of China isn't there to keep the mongrel hordes out of China. It's there to give you an idea that they're coming so that you can be prepared, right? Well, if you are overwhelmed that wall, you don't even get a chance to get prepared because it's overwhelming. So if you get a huge viral load, let's say you kiss somebody who has influenza, and they have active influenza, you're going to get a worse case of influenza or COVID or RSV than if you coughed in a room and 3 minutes later someone walked in the room and got a small dose of the virus. So viral load is one. So viruses that shed a lot, especially in the upper respiratory system, those that shed a lot, when you have all the catarrh and stuff, you're shedding a lot of virus, that's when it's most effective because you give off the most viral load. Some viruses, and because some viruses are on fomites, meaning on our respiratory particles, those transmit and those can be out in the air for a long time. Some viruses are deadly from a long way away because they float in the air for a long time. Measles being one of the most deadly ones out there. You can be 100 feet away from someone with measles and you can contract it. So measles is pretty bad. But influenza is bad because you live in cities, we live in cities, we are around people, and when they start spreading the virus, they can even be asymptomatic, right? So you can not think you have the virus, but it's gurgling in your nose and your mouth, and you're spewing it out. You may not have any symptoms, but it can be enough of a virus that it can give other people symptoms. So some are worse because of how much virus they create and how much you spew out. That's why.
How well monitored is this this type of virus and other viruses as well? My question is for that is it feels like COVID was almost here for a while before we actually identified, hey, we have COVID here. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not making fact, just kind of a feeling or observation.
Well, COVID got mixed up because when we had COVID hit, we had some bad influenza B in November, December, and January in the United States. And so people said, I think I got COVID because blah, blah, blah. I had a horrible flu or horrible symptoms. So I'm sure I had COVID before it arrived on our shores on January 20th of 2020. In all of those instances in that time, you could go back and draw blood and see if they had antibodies against COVID, and they didn't. But still, people, of course, will swear they had COVID before. But we do know, so we're pretty good at monitoring viruses. That's why we spend all the money on CDC and WHO. And they are doing a lot of work on farms. They are almost every single dairy in the country they are getting raw milk specimens from, especially those in California, Nevada, Texas, and checking them and isolating them. Clearly, they're watching all the major, like Tyson. They have a huge interaction program where they're walking. Where we're not able to watch it is like your chicken farm in the backyard, the small farm that does it, the small little dairy farm. We are not able to do that well. But the things that we can do, again, are chances are the eggs aren't going to be out there if you are going to, because the hen usually gets sick far before they produce the egg, and even though they produce them every day, they get sick. And as you know, as a poultry farmer, they just don't produce eggs when they're sick, they don't produce that many.
Right.
So we are monitoring it behind the scenes like crazy. It has been an intensive effort, and it's ongoing intensive effort. We just haven't seen anything like as much of it out there as we do now.
And let's say today there was a mutation that allowed for a cross-species transfer. How long do you think it would take before that information got into the system and started raising red flags?
Well, here's the thing. Right now, if you get hospitalized, and anytime you get hospitalized with a respiratory infection, ER always checks you for influenza A, influenza B, and COVID and RSV, right? Simple test. They do it on everybody that comes in the hospital. Now what we are doing is we are asking all hospitals, if someone is in the hospital with influenza A, to send off a sample to the CDC laboratories, and they give you all the stuff to do that, to make sure it's not bird flu. So we will probably know within days of that happening. It will not be subtle.
So that's how big your world sees this as a potential threat, that there is constant monitoring of people in the country for this specific crossover.
Yes. And every state health department's involved, especially the states that have cattle farms, dairy farms, poultry farms. They're all involved. And every single hospital, every infectious disease, they're very much involved in saying, oh, we got someone who's intubated, and they have influenza A. It's like, send the sample off to the CDC and let's make sure that it's not H5N1.
How long do you see? I know you said that these things have been around for thousands of years and everything like that. And, how long do you see this threat before it's kind of, okay, we put it in the rearview mirror? Like this one right here.
It's gonna hit human to human and won't be in the rearview mirror. And then we'll have a vaccine for it, and then it'll be in the rearview mirror.
Oh wow! So this is almost like an inevitable thing.
Correct. It's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when.
So we should. I mean, everybody, but I'm specifically talking about fire departments. This is definitely something that we should consider to have a preparation for. Is there any idea? Can you trace mutations and mutation times and frequencies? Is there an idea of when it might happen, or it could happen tomorrow? It could happen 100 years from now. It could happen any time in between.
No, it's not going to happen 100 years from now. It'll probably happen in the next year at the rates we're seeing. Maybe not. We may escape this year. Because the influenza season kind of is going to wind down. I mean, it's hit its peak and it's already kind of winding down. So if we can escape this year, we're going to be good. Here are the factors we're worried about this year: migratory birds, dead birds, getting in foxes, getting in domestic dogs, domestic cats, people with influenza. So as our influenza goes down, migration goes down, we may be okay this year, but we're not out of the woods yet. But
So
it may very
if
well happen.
when next year happens, will that
Yeah.
kick like that? This is basically a
Yep.
threat that's going to happen every year. It cycles up in flu season, and it's only a matter of time before it will cross over.
Right. And remember, flu season is just a season. So we still get influenza in the middle of the summer, even though flu season doesn't typically be until like September, peaking in November, December, influenza B peaking, and we're not worried about B so much with this. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And migration of birds, because they're the ones that are carrying it across.
And what about is it a race for the vaccine?
So we won't be
this?
able to produce a vaccine until we know the virus that affects humans, right? So we actually know the genetic sequence of the virus that infected the two people, the one person who's dead, the other one who's made it. We know that genetic sequence, and it's the same genetic sequence as the dairy farm in Nevada. We could make a vaccine against that today, but that's not human to human. So it may be so making a vaccine for that today may not do anything. It's like the first wild type COVID vaccine. If we were to give it to you today, it doesn't really affect the COVID that is out there now. So it's silly to make it. But we can make them very fast, meaning that once we have that, boy, it's affecting a bunch of people, New York, Ventura, Omaha, wherever, we'll be able to get that, sequence it, and make an mRNA vaccine very, very quickly against that influenza, test it, get it out. It'll never be fast enough, but, at least we'll know.
This
Right.
is
One last guy. I got one. I know. I see the blinking red. I know that we're past
good.
time. But all right. So there's no debate in any way, shape, or form that COVID became extraordinarily politicized, and it caused a lot of distrust in the population, in the science community. We were talking about this a little bit beforehand. However, in reality, it's not the science community's fault. A lot of the messages get hijacked by political entities and things like that. If somebody wanted to try to follow and get information, if this were to cross over, when it's crossing over, or to follow it, what would be your suggestion as to a reliable source of information that, in your opinion, would be relatively apolitical and really come from the science community or the medical community?
So there's a lot of state health boards that put out information and are very good at transmitting the information. They're reliable. The CDC is sort of handcuffed right now. They can't say anything, and they're not updating a lot of stuff, which is horrific because they're typically it. The World Health Organization is pretty good, but they're being kind of defunded, which means that they're our first line. There are 49 other countries out there that have bird flu, right? So they may get it in, Holland before we get it in the United States, So and then there are a bunch of us in the scientific community who, like I have a Substack and a TikTok and Instagram, who are keeping up with this information so that I put out nearly once a week, sometimes twice a week, updates about that. And there's a bunch of other people like me that do that. And we try and use verified scientific information so that we can give you the best. And it's apolitical. Like, I don't care who's in charge. I do care who's in charge. I happen to love politics and have my own personal views about it. But science is science. And, if this comes, I want people to have the best information that they can.
all right. So then tell all our listeners where they can follow you on the TikTok and the Substack and all that stuff.
Okay, on TikTok, I'm at Dr. Terry Simpson. And since I have 1.1 million followers, you will find when you look at Dr. Terry Simpson, a bunch of people using my avatar saying, oh, this is his secret account. I only have one account, because everybody.
I am a follower, just so you know.
Thank you. And I'm at Dr. Terry Simpson on Instagram. And my Substack is tsimpson.substack.com, whatever, and it's the same profile and stuff like that. I just started on Substack because I worried that if TikTok goes away, that's a really, and the nice thing about Substack is I can combine that with more in-depth stuff.
Right.
TikTok, as you know, is very quick, 1-minute videos. People don't get a lot of the flavor, but it's just like, here's what's coming. Whereas in Substack, I can put a lot more written information, have longer form videos if I need. So we're trying very hard to keep the public informed. Not panicked, but it's like, yep, I'd make sure I had some N95 masks. I'm taking a trip overseas in a little while. People look at me, but I wear my N95 masks everywhere. It's just like, why not? It's not that hard.
Right.
I don't even want to get the flu when I'm overseas, right?
You kind of lost the stigma of that mask thing now. Everybody's okay. Yeah, he wears it. It's not a big deal.
And that's good. That's good. And let me clear up the mask debate. People say, well, the virus is too small. It can't get caught up in the mask. Well, viruses don't have wings. Viruses are on respiratory droplets, and the respiratory droplets easily get trapped in the mask. And there is lots and lots and lots and lots of great data showing that mask, because remember, it's viral load. If you decrease viral load to you, you have a less chance of getting it. And again, we will get a vaccine, and it'll probably be commercially available. Depending on how fast it's out, will depend on how deadly the virus is. Right? Okay. I mean, our healthcare system got overwhelmed with COVID, as you know. And, once we got the vaccine, you can see the rate, what happened in the hospitalizations. It just dropped.
Well, I am guaranteeing there's going to be many follow-up questions, and we will correlate them and bring them to your attention and hopefully get you back on, because I appreciate you coming on.
Happy to do it. It's been fun. It's like I said, it's the other end of what I do. I'm always telling people, like, if you see a dead bird, get somebody that's appropriate to deal with it. But I've never actually said to people, which I should, if you have to do this, because some people are out in rural areas, they don't want the dead bird, and nobody's going to come to the Fish and Game Department no less than they do.
Right.
It's like, wear an N95 masks, wear disposable gloves. If you can put footies on, wear footies. Put it in a plastic bag. It's better if you can incinerate it, but it has to go in the garbage. It has to go in the garbage. Double bag it if you can. And then take all that crap off, destroy that too, and, wash with 1 to 10 bleach. I mean, it's because it's going to be out there. We're just seeing a lot of dead birds around.
We appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, Terry.
Thank you, Doc.
Don't do CPR on a bird.
That's the lesson right there.
Especially with a long beak. That hits the gag reflex, and it's no good.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I'm still eating Popeye's chicken, though, so.
Good. Ready to train differently? Head to thehazmatguys.com to book your customized training. Pick up your copy of the Nerd Volume 2 book, browse exclusive swag, get your department added to the grant funding list, and stay updated on all things THMG. Don't wait. Secure your team spot today.